Debatable. I think we're live. Let me jump in to YouTube to see if we are. It says we're live, but YouTube is not showing that. It didn't even add the title.
It's showing for me now.
Okay, because like on my side, it's saying "Welcome to our live show." I gotta work on that title, man. Give me 1 second here.
That's fine.
I'm gonna change this title to what I had. All right, now it's back. All right, we're gonna discuss libertarianism. So, because we've clashed quite a few times online, and mostly is because of our the different worldviews that we have, but
Yep.
also, I mean, that was also kind of like informs our politics. Now, I wanted to discuss libertarianism, and because I thought I don't know. For some reason, I kind of thought you were more in the libertarian camp, and now it seems. I guess it seems like not so as much. Um, can you tell me what you think libertarianism is?
Um, that's a pretty broad question.
Yeah.
Um, but I would say libertarianism appears to be an attempt to um, combine um, modern philosophy, Enlightenment philosophy, with more of a fiscal conservatism. I think
Okay.
that's probably the broadest brush that I think I can accurately portray
Okay.
without getting into any kind of criticisms.
And now that is what most people who are outside of libertarianism think that it is. It's kind of like what people who don't understand reform theology think reformers are just people who believe in predestination.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
just Calvinist.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's a a very important principle within libertarianism, and if you're libertarian, you might think I'm going to say it's the non-aggression principle. It's not. There's something more fundamental than that. It is property. Property and property is the. Tell you, did you read the paper that I sent?
I did, and
Okay.
I was kind of surprised. I didn't know you had a master's degree. Thought that was pretty cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And it's been a long time since I read through a college paper. It's been a long time since I've been in college.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was enjoyable. And when you sent it to me, you said you had kind of changed your mind on some of these views, and at least in the early going, I was like, man, I hope he hadn't changed his mind on these because this is where it's at. I was
Right.
with you.
Okay. Yeah. So like the audience watching the paper that I sent was explaining how I grounded property rights and reform theology and biblical theology. And it's we talk about sometimes I might sound like a Christian during this episode, but um you know what's up. But I just want to bring back to the mindset of the paper that I was sending you when we looked at the like Exodus 20 when it talks about like the 10 commandments, right?
Hmm.
The chapter before, God says he's like, "Hey, here if you heed my word, follow like my directions, you know, I will be your God." This was like kind of like God establishing consent, like right at the beginning with Israel.
Hmm.
And so
I can see
God,
that.
yeah, and so God, even if like so atheist speaking here, of course, but the Christian God, even though he had the authority to do whatever he want, that's something that even he respected. He
Okay.
respected consent. And so when we ground when we talk about property, what does it mean to own something? What does it mean to have property in something? What it means is that I have total ownership over. I have authoritarian control totalitarian control. I have like pretty much, here's just this thing. If I own it, I have like Kim Jong Un level dictatorship over that thing to the exclusion of everyone else. And a good example of that, like, is my body, right? I get to determine who access that. Only me. That is my right because it's mine. You can't make that decision for me. You and Facade can't get together to make that decision for me. The world cannot make that decision for me. Only I can make that decision for me because it's mine. And there's really nothing special about the body. It's just because it's property. It's mine because I have property in it. And there are other things that I also have property over. Like the shirt that I'm wearing. I own this shirt. I exercise the same level of control over it that I do my body. Simply because I own it.
Okay.
Disagree?
Uh, I would not at this point. No.
Okay. Well,
I think the first question that comes out though is I'd want to know where you're getting this definition, or at least the centrality of property and consent from in your definition of libertarianism.
okay. So this is the part. This is the really hard part that I kind of wanted to skip because
okay.
the conversation runs into a wall. And so what I could do for our conversation, just so we could move forward, is
Yeah, that's fair.
I can presuppose the Christian God. He has supreme he has property rights over everything. Let's say he owns the entire universe.
Right.
All right.
The earth
And
is the Lord's and the fullness thereof.
exactly. And so when we own things, we have secondary ownership. We're almost like tenants on God's property. He has a lease for us. Right. And so and that's what when we could say that if you steal my shirt, remember I'm only the secondary owner of my shirt.
Right.
All right. So if you steal my shirt, you're not just stealing from me.
You're stealing from God.
Exactly?
Yeah.
Right.
Don't do it.
Okay. So all right. So now we can go ahead and move forward. Now, so we have property rights that in your property rights, only you have control over those things. Now, let's say we talk about your shirt. Let's say I am Facade and a third person get together. We decide that Wes no longer owns that shirt. We're gonna take it from him. Is it right?
No, it's not. And I think we'd agree on that too.
Let's say we get a
three wolves and a sheep taking a vote to see what's for dinner.
Let's say we get 1 million people and we decide we're going to come together. We're going to form a government, vote, and decide that we're going to take your shirt.
You can do it. It still doesn't make it right.
But it doesn't make it right, right?
Yeah.
So we're still violating your rights. We're violating your rights. We're also violating God's rights.
I'd like to point out too, and I think this is going to happen probably more than it has in previous conversations.
Mm-hmm.
We can agree on, and you've argued in the past for objective ethics, objective morality. So we can agree that at least morality is objective in some sense. We're not going to rehash that argument now, but that mutual recognition, that mutual agreement helps inform the understanding that just because people vote on something doesn't necessarily make that thing right, whether it's taking a shirt, whether it's taking money, whatever it is.
Exactly. Now, and I would say it's even when we talked about morality, here a right is something that's something a little more fundamental, because you can have a right to something even though it's immoral, right? I can go to the park and give little children the middle finger, right? Now that's immoral. I have a right to do it.
Yeah, that's where we're going to find some disagreement. I would distinguish between power and right, or right and responsibility.
Right. So
you have the ability to do it. Doesn't necessarily mean you have the right to do it.
Well, I would say it's my finger.
Sure.
Right.
And
And
I mean,
as long as
I'm not saying we should argue over it. I'm just saying
okay.
that's going to be where our paths diverge a little bit. We would both agree, not a good thing
Mm-hmm.
to go to the park and flip up a bunch of kids,
Yeah, I would
but
say it's immoral.
it's in
And
that foundational when we start to talk about the vocabulary we use and the terms and definitions that we're using,
mm-hmm.
we're going to see some divergence.
Okay. So now, for me, when I talk about a right, like my right ends when it violates the rights of another, not when it affects them. Right? Because I mean, just about
Hmm.
anything I do is going to have some sort of effect on somebody else, especially in a world as interconnected as ours, like through technology and such. But and when I violate if I do something that violates the rights of someone else, that's where my rights end. Right? So like, I don't have a right to slap your face. All right?
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
because
let me
that's your
ask you this:
property.
what is the definition of a right in your view of libertarianism?
It's the exercise of control over your property.
Okay, so the idea of property is central to the idea of rights.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep. The reason I get them the flick off children is because they're my fingers.
right.
Hmm.
And kids don't have the right to not see middle fingers.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Hmm. I couldn't use it to poke him in the eye because that's his eye.
Yeah.
But it's not like the kid. If the kid owned the air that around me, well, that'd be different, right? I couldn't go in his house, stick my hand in his window, and flick him off because he owns that house, right? But I could do it outside. If I have a right to be
But
there, then
well, even on your own terms there, you're not violating any rights at that point. I mean,
you mean
I mean, if we're talking about
if I enter,
trespassing,
yeah, if I enter
right?
somebody's house, that's I would
But
say so.
you're not doing any damage to property,
No,
right?
but
So in what way are you infringing on somebody else's right
because
if
he
you were just
You're
to
intruding upon someone else's property without their consent.
okay,
If I
fair enough.
because
welcome you into my house, you're invited. You're an invited guest. If you break into my house, you're entering my house without my consent.
yeah, because remember that home, if it's yours, you have exclusive, total authoritarian control over that
Gotcha.
property. That means you get to control who goes in and who can come out. Well, now
Yep.
I mean, somebody can leave or whatever, but you get to master that. So if I go in without your permission, I am violating that.
I see where you're coming from.
Hmm. So now, where was I going? So, well, first, before I go forward, would you agree with that?
I would not,
Okay.
because there's some my objections with libertarianism tend to be more foundational,
Okay.
and so case in point for as a Christian, right? But also as I would put myself more in the Constitution camp, like Constitution Party, um, as far as that's concerned. But when you refer to a body as something we have ownership of or define as property,
Hmm.
I see that as a proposition that I cannot agree with, right?
You don't own
And
your body.
I wouldn't say you own your body. I would say you in part are your body, right? Your body is part of who you are. It's not something that you own,
Yeah, I mean, it could
right?
be. I mean, so like if somebody was to cut my hand off, it's no
Sure.
longer
Now
a part
there
of
are
me.
downstream
I still own it.
implications. Yeah, there are downstream implications that we would agree with, and I think that's where maybe that's where the cause of confusion in thinking I'm a libertarian comes from, because there's a lot of downstream effects with regard to uh, personal protection of
Hmm.
personal property, the economic impacts, right? Taxation, all of that sort of stuff. There's significant overlap, if not full on agreement. Um, but it's again that foundational principle of saying that you own your body. I'm like, I can't jive with that.
So if somebody
Um,
cut off my hand, would I owe the hand because now it's no longer attached to my body, but it's still
no,
my.
but I think the difference is, like, I don't have the right to cut my own hand off, and that's where it comes. Like I was saying before about the
Okay.
kids in the park, you have the ability, but you don't have the
Well,
right.
why wouldn't you have the right to cut your hand off?
Um, because it's a violation of human nature, and that gets into but human nature and natural law.
So
That
I
gets
would say that
into
it's immoral to cut your hand. It will be immoral to cut your
sure.
own hand off. But but you have a right to like damage your like for instance. Okay, so would you say that I don't have a right to give a kid the middle finger?
I would.
You say I wouldn't have a right to do that.
That's correct. You would not have the right to do that. I don't believe you have the
Okay,
right to do it. I believe you have the ability to.
right.
And politically speaking,
But that's free
you may
speech.
have that recognized as a right in a political system. But
Hmm.
again, this goes back to our understanding principally that just because something is agreed upon, even in a political sense, doesn't necessarily make that thing right, or in this case, doesn't make it a right.
So okay, no question. So do you? So if who gets to control my body?
That is a very good question, and that gets into a fundamental Christian truth, right?
Okay.
In that you are not your own, or at least in a New Testament sense, Christians certainly
Hmm.
wouldn't be able to say that, right? Because the Bible says clearly, "You're not your own; you've been bought with a price." But it leads to the principle that you recognized earlier: everything in the world is God's, right?
Right.
And so we are stewards, we are tenants, to use your word. So we have a duty to behave in such a way that is consistent with the way that God made us. So
I could I
that's kind
can
of
grant
what I mean
that.
by human nature. Like we're created in a certain way for a particular purpose, and so for us to behave in a way that deviates from that is wrong, and we don't have a right to do that, even if we have the ability.
Okay. So now if you're saying I don't have a right to do something, you're saying
Mhm.
that is tantamount to saying somebody has the right to stop me. Like it's like I don't have a right to walk into your home. That would
Potentially,
also
yeah,
mean that you have the right to stop me from entering your home.
hmm
Because
that's
you
true.
wouldn't be violating my rights by stopping me from entering my home. But so now, so if I stick my middle finger up to a kid, who has the right to take control of my hand and put it down?
That's a good question, and I would say um, nobody. Right. That let's
That
say
sounds like a
I'm
right then.
well.
If
So we
nobody
have
has a right to do it.
this gets into just a basic different understanding of what a right is.
Okay.
And I'm okay with it. We don't have to park on that because I know we can find something to grab a hold to and we lose
Okay.
30 minutes.
It might well
Um,
it might I think this would be a problem down the road.
I,
Because I'm cause
definitely.
I there because I think there was things I was hoping you'd agree to, and then we could get to something.
Sorry to
Because what?
disappoint you
All
once
right,
again.
because I'm about to take a position that's far more extreme than you thought.
Oh, I
Hmm.
have no doubt.
Let
Okay.
me ask a
All right.
question that might help get some common ground. Wes, can you give me an example of a right that all humans have?
Life. And that's where we would agree with libertarians, at least uh, in their statement of principles, right? This is the
So
Declaration of
you're
Independence. Yeah,
anti-capital punishment?
no, not necessarily.
Ah,
Um,
then all humans don't have a right to life because you believe that someone has the right to take that from them in the case of capital punishment.
yeah, there are, but all
So can you
humans
give me an example of
fundamentally,
something that all humans have? A right that all
I, I
humans have.
I would stand on the right to life.
But you just
However,
said in the
there
case of
are
capital punishment, that's an exception. So not all humans have that.
right. Well, don't
I mean,
commit the
I want an
crime,
example in
and
which
you
all
preserve your
humans, no,
right
no
to life.
matter what,
The, the
have a
the thing
right to.
about capital punishment is when somebody is owed capital punishment, let's say, it's not that they no longer have that right, that it was taken from them. It's rather they gave it up in the committing of
Well,
the act that warranted the capital punishment. So
when you finish that of capital punishment, you are by definition taking the right to life away.
but it comes back to again a different understanding of a right. So I
But
would.
that's what I'm asking, if you can give me an example that applies to all humans,
Yeah,
no,
it
no
does
matter
apply to
what.
all humans, and even those who are subject to capital punishment prior to the act that made them subject to it, they possess that right. So it, in
Well,
that
I mean,
sense,
it would
applies
be
to
like it
everybody.
would be like saying all humans have the right to freedom unless you commit a crime and then you're in prison,
Precisely.
right? But like,
Is there a right you can't lose?
yeah, that's a better question, perhaps.
No, I don't think there is, and we see that throughout history and various societies and civilization. Even today, there
Well,
are rights that people have.
What
Even
about
in this country,
like, let's go with
the
like
right
the
to
Bill
life
of Rights.
is denied, and that's
Let
a fundamental outworking or I'm sorry, a fundamental difference with libertarianism with respect to the pro-life issue and abortion.
like I would say, like, what? Okay, I would, and I think you'll agree with this. Like sexual rights to my body, I could never lose, no matter what I do. Right? Like it would never be an appropriate punishment for someone to like rape me.
That
For
is correct. Yes.
okay, so like you can say that's a right that I could not lose under any circumstances.
Well,
Right?
see, here's the difference: is like you don't lose that right, although that right can be violated.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
So if
yeah. I
you're
mean, all
saying
rights can be violated. Yeah. I mean, somebody
right,
can run to my
so
house
if
and
you're
choke
saying
me
to
and
violate that right is the same as you losing that right, or the same
Mhm.
thing, then we're going to run into the same kind of issues. So I think in a similar way but distinct, yeah, is what we're talking about with life. You have the right to be free from sexual assault.
Okay. So, Facade, did you want to go anywhere else?
I mean, I think you've answered the question by going
Okay.
down that rabbit trail. I was gonna say, like, what about like fundamental rights of like the Bill of Rights, for instance, freedom of speech,
Mhm.
for instance? Do you
But
think
but
that
I
that
I think West is opposed
Or
to freedom of speech.
I'd agree. That's why I said I think you answered the
Okay.
question.
yeah, no, I'm a fan of freedom of speech.
Well,
Right,
okay, but
right, but
the
I
middle
You have the
think
right
finger.
to free.
you think it
Mhm.
can be removed. Do you think, for instance, like you could suppress freedom of speech? For instance, like the suppression of not being able to put up your middle finger to children in a park.
Well, that's so then we've got to hash out the definition of speech, and
You
I would
also
say this
said,
is another
I'm
distinction
like
between
gestures uniformly, at least in American history, have been deemed as a form of speech, whether that
well,
be flipping somebody off or whether that
okay,
be holding up signs, whether that's sign language, whether that's words, it doesn't matter. Like gestures across the board, like flipping people off, has been ruled up all the way up to the Supreme Court as a form of protected speech.
sure.
I,
Uh,
I'll
You
uh,
can
tell you
flip
and,
off.
this.
and
You can
be
flip
that
off
as it may.
cops.
Well, what West did say that no, if I'm gonna stick my finger up, nobody would have the right to put it down. And
Correct.
so
Yeah.
that then to me that is
Well,
that
and
is
if that's
close
your
enough to
definition of
agreement.
right, then so be it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
fine.
to me, a right would mean like some nobody has a right to stop me. They would be violating my rights in order to do something, right? So okay, so now if let's go here.
Careful, don't show your credit card information
Yeah.
online.
Oh yeah. Oh, this is. Ooh. Yeah.
Hey, I've been in fraud for a decade and a half, so
Where?
I know how easy it is.
Yeah.
Be careful. Just saying.
Yeah. No. Good idea. All right. So we grant. So there. How about this? My my shirt. Right
Hmm.
now, we agreed that nobody has a right to just take it. Right. Even if they
Agreed.
establish their own government and vote. Right.
Hmm.
Let's say. What about money?
Yeah,
Doesn't
I'm with you.
it works the
This is
same
getting
way?
into a lot of stuff that we agree on when it comes to probably tax policy. Is
Mm,
that where you're going?
yeah, because like now, this would seem to this it would seem that you have a problem with justifying any form of government, at least one that
No,
isn't completely voluntary.
no. I think the concept of government is perfectly valid. Uh, but
Okay,
I don't find
but
any now.
voluntary.
There's expressions of government that can be immoral, contrary to that which is good, right?
How
And
would let's say you have the perfect government? How would it fund itself? And let's say you're in charge of America now. I don't
okay,
want to pay. I don't want to pay taxes. Can you make me?
yes,
Okay.
Yeah, there is
Would it
a
not be
level of
violating my
taxation.
right?
No, no, not necessarily.
How not?
Um, well, so here's a few other issues that I have with libertarianism.
Mm-hmm.
One is uh, when they say, and just so everybody's aware, I've been asking definitions because I'm getting my understanding from the Libertarian Party platform, right? It's
Okay.
available online, so that's what I'm getting my information from. And when they say seeking to abolish all forms of taxation, I find that extreme. I get it, and I certainly probably agree with the majority of the taxation that's out there: income tax, death tax, or estate tax, stuff like that. But for example, sales tax, I don't
Mm-hmm.
find any issue with that. Um, Consumption tax, things that I'm going to pay as a part of, um, you know, like people say, living in a civilized society, and this coincides with another issue that I have with the way the libertarian platform presents the idea of government. There's no distinction between the levels of government, and so I would
Well,
say that
there's a good reason for that.
no,
Because whether you live in the United States or
uh
whether you live in North Korea, neither one of those have the right to take my stuff without my consent.
no
So,
disagreement.
well,
But
so that is why they're treated the same.
right, but if there is a tax levied on a particular good,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't take away your right to exchange in the marketplace.
It does.
It
Here, because here's where it does. Because here's what we're talking about. So let's
okay.
say, remember, we both have our property rights. I do, and so do you. Let's say you,
Mhm,
Wes, you want to sell your yellow shirt to me, and I want to buy it.
mhm,
The government is a third party that says, "Hey, hold up! Before you do that, I need a cut."
mhm.
That is a violation of both of our property rights.
Well, that's
Now,
that's
now
not
they're
quite the same
saying
thing that I'm
you
referring
can't
to.
sell your stuff to me, and I'm willing to buy. I have money,
But
you have a shirt. We're willing to
that's sales
trade.
tax. Yeah,
Right. We're
that
saying
is
we're willing
sales
Well,
to
tax.
trade. You're violating both of our property rights.
to be fair, that's more akin to what you'd find on like eBay or Facebook Marketplace,
No,
right?
that's
No,
that's literally like
nobody's getting
unless you
taxed for
live
that.
in no, like that's literally if you live in about 44, 45 of the 50 states, they have a sales tax on all goods. You go to a Dollar Tree back when Dollar Tree was a dollar, you spend a
Right,
dollar, you give 7 cents to the government
but that's not the
because
same
of the
thing as
government.
me and AAA
That
interacting as
the
private
only
citizens.
difference is that Dollar Tree is a corporation and you're a person.
And well, there are other things associated with that. For example, if you want to operate in a particular territory, there may be costs associated with that,
But
right?
if they
The-
own
but
the, it's my house. Like it's my.
you're
I
in the
own the
No,
territory.
land.
I get it. It's yours,
Yeah.
But
right?
So it's my
let's say
land.
you're in the same territory as the Dollar Tree.
Mhm.
So what's the difference in the you and the Dollar Tree at this point?
But what I'm saying is that the analogy I think breaks down because if I want to sell AAA this yellow shirt, and he wants to buy this yellow shirt, there is no sales tax involved, right?
As at an
There's a
at an
category
ind at
distinction
an
between going to Dollar Tree and
Here's
buying
what
a yellow shirt.
it will be
so
a
there's
sales
there's
tax if Wes was to set up a store,
Hmm.
register, get, trademark his store, and then I walk in there. You still own that shirt. Now I want to trade my dollar for your shirt.
That's
It's
correct.
both of our stuff. The government is a third party forcing his way in our transaction.
It's
I
not
can
it's
I
not
can give you an
forcing, and it's
even
not a disinterested third party.
it
I
is
would argue.
forcing, but I'll give you
Okay.
even more complicated example just because I can take it that far. Is that let's say you set up a yard sale every weekend at your
Hmm.
house and it's up the street from your Dollar Tree. Now you sell a bunch of stuff. I don't know what state you live in, don't really care. It's not relevant. Whatever your state's income minimum limitations are,
Hmm.
if you gain that through your yard sale, you now have to classify that as a business and pay taxes on it as an individual.
Hmm.
And
So
it's your
you took
stuff.
all the things that you own and you just decided, I'm going to sell them. I don't need any of these things.
Right.
And so for every weekend until you gave away all your stuff or you sold all your stuff, you did so. Now you have a capital gains that you have to pay taxes on.
And I want to add this too, because you said like the
It's
third.
it
You
wouldn't
said it
necessarily be
wasn't.
capital gains, but
Well, I mean, it would. You
be that
literally
as it may,
gain. You're literally gaining, and you'd either have to claim it as capital gains if you did it in one sitting, which
or
probably wouldn't
regular
happen,
income.
or you'd have to tax it as income, right? So either
Right.
in either case, right? So if you sold one item that made you lots of money, that would be a capital gains. And if you sold $10,000, well, let's just go with like federal minimum wage over like 32 hours a week over any state in the country, about $16,000 worth of stuff. You'd end up having to pay about $3,000 worth of taxes.
Uh, I mean, getting into the minutia of what those taxes would be or how
But it's
much,
income tax.
I
That
think
like it's taxes of things that you already own that
you're
you
not going to
already
get any
paid for.
argument from me over income tax.
Well,
Right,
okay,
but
but
To say that flat out.
the issue
that's what
is
that
that
is.
you have two parties on their own volition
Hmm.
trying to make a transaction as a third party. You said the party wasn't disinterested,
Yeah.
right? So it has an interest in it, but that's not
Right.
that's not what makes it okay. It has to have a right to it. Like,
I,
because
I,
I mean, like
I wouldn't
if you
say that because when we're talking about exchanging and commerce, I
Mhm.
mean, if you want to extend the right to engaging in the commerce, okay, but there are circumstances around the commerce that extend beyond rights. Then there's responsibilities, right? If I'm going to give you this shirt, I'm going to need you to give me some money, and if you're going to give me some money, you're going to need me to give the shirt. So I think when we
But
start talking about exchange of goods and services, there's a different dynamic than merely rights, if that
well,
makes
no, but
sense.
it's the same thing. That's all you need. Like,
Okay.
you just need the consenting parties. It's so we have an agreement. Like, I like your shirt more than I like my dollar. You like my dollar more than you like your shirt, and so
Agreed.
we just swap. That's all you're doing when you go to Walmart or you go to a grocery store. You're
That's
trading.
okay.
So the
I
party.
won't push it any further, but I've made my disagreement known, and we'll just leave it at that.
Well, okay. I guess I'm
But
not sure where. Like, why would the fact that we're engaging in commerce change anything? Because if it's my property, remember, like, I thought you
I'm not
agreed that
saying it
I
does.
have
I'm saying there's a
authoritarian.
difference between going to a brick and mortar store, for example, and exchanging with an individual.
Okay,
What makes it different though? If
well,
if I have a building that I set up with the sole intent of selling goods to individuals in my local community, and let's say I set up
Hmm.
a farm or like a garden, like a garden community,
Hmm.
right? So I grow my own vegetables. I go out, I plant the seeds, I till the fields, I grow my crops, I bring them in, and I have a local produce stand that I sell to my local community.
Yeah, happens
They
all the
come
time.
and they say, I want your vegetables. We'll give you our money. And I say, great. We agree upon a price and I sell you the vegetables that I worked on. If I turn that store or if I turn that fruit stand or vegetable stand or whatever it is,
Hmm.
if I do things by the law of the land, I have to pay taxes on that. And
Okay.
if I set it up as a official store that's recognized by the U.S. government for some reason, but if whatever for whatever reason, but whatever, if the government recognizes it as a place of business,
Hmm.
then I then have to pay taxes, and you have to pay taxes on those things that you buy. So I say I'm willing to sell you these tomatoes at $1 a piece, and you say, great, those look like some amazing tomatoes. They're way better than the grocery store, and they're cheaper, and they're closer. I'll happily pay you $1. And then John from down the street comes in and says, actually, you're going to give me a quarter for every tomato you buy because John lives down the street and he's got guns or weapons or whatever reason. And he says, you're going
he's
to pay me
government.
as
That's
well.
government has guns and weapons. It's literally extortion.
Yeah, that's how
I would disagree
libertarians
with that,
view
but
government.
I can see where you're coming from. That is the more extreme libertarian view
That is
of
how they view
commerce.
government. That's
But
why I
But
was like, oh,
what's the but that's what's happening here.
yeah, so
So
I would say from a framework perspective, right, a more
mhm.
foundational perspective, what I was saying earlier about the failure to make a distinction between levels of government, in line with the right to free association.
Mhm.
Let's say a group of people want to say we want to associate, and we'll call this a town or a city or a burg or pick your whatever.
Mhm.
Um, they have more authority over. I would say, and I think we would agree, at least in principle, they have
Mhm.
more authority over what happens in the boundaries of this area than the U.S. government, for example.
Oh
Right.
well,
So,
yeah.
so a business that wants to operate
As long as it's
in.
their stuff, because like so for me, authority is
Mhm.
tied to property. The reason I have authority over my body, the reason you have authority over your house is because you own it. That is where the authority comes from.
Yeah, I mean that's again.
I think this is the principle. The reason why God has authority over the universe is because it's His. Like in
Okay,
Scripture is tying authority over things to ownership. It's because there's property in it.
that's certainly part of it, and I wouldn't disagree. But I think there's an overemphasis of property ownership in the conversation. I mean that's
Well, for
in
that is fundamental,
yeah,
and
I agree.
that is why. So if because from the libertarian perspective, because you're saying they don't they don't make distinctions between layers of government.
Hmm.
It's because it's focused on property, and if you whatever layer is violating their property rights, it's a problem.
Sure.
So okay, well,
So to go back to my
mhm,
example, right? So you have a city that says if you are to operate a center of commerce, be it a fruit
mhm,
stand, be it a brick and mortar store, whatever, right? If you are to operate in this area, there are certain criteria because we've got infrastructure, right? We've got utilities, we've got roadways, we've got police that need to provide security depending on the situation, fire and rescue that need to be able to be first responders. Let's just say just group them in like that, right? And all of those are paid out of a city budget. So, as part of the agreement, there's business licensing fees, for example. You call it
mhm.
a tax if you want, call it a fee. The particular terminology doesn't really matter, but the city makes certain requirements to operate in this area, and I don't see anything necessarily wrong with that. Now we can talk about
No, nor
exorbitant
do
fees.
I.
We can,
I guess we have to get more into the details because so
yeah,
like I'm okay with licensing if as long as we're talking about there's somebody that owns it. Like for
right,
instance,
and
like
so
so if I
so
have
I think. Oh, go ahead.
if I have land and you want to open up a business on my land, I can say, yeah, but you have to get this
Got to pay
license.
rent.
Right. Now, if you have land, I can't say you need a license to operate on it because it's your stuff.
Hmm.
And this is essentially what government does. Government marks out an area of geography and
Hmm.
then claim authority over things they don't own. And here's a much more fundamental question because if government gets its rights from the people
Who gets
and
its
none of the
authority
people
from the people?
against
I
his
think this.
authority. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's very clear. Government do not have rights. Government has powers. That
Because even the
not rights.
libertarians would
Yes, they
say
do not
that
have rights.
groups don't have rights.
Right. Exactly. Individuals have rights. Now,
See, I'm
so
paying attention.
right. So no, the government gets its powers, its authority
Hmm.
from the people.
Right.
If none of the people have that power, because remember, because here's the thing, right? All the people on earth, if we decided we wanted to steal your shirt, we wanted to take your shirt, we wouldn't have a right to do it. That's why, therefore, if the people collectively can't do it, then
Hmm.
we can't delegate that authority to the government because we don't own that. Like
Yeah.
I can't. You can delegate authority to me for your house. You can get. I'm leaving the country. Hey, AAA, I want you to watch my house. Now have authority over your house. And somebody wants to come in, I can stop them.
Hmm.
Why? Because I get my authority from you because you're the own that house. But I couldn't do that. I couldn't delegate ownership of your house to facade. I couldn't delegate authority over to your from your house to facade because
So by this perspective, a renter has no rights to their home because
so
they don't own the property. Would
so
you agree with that?
no, because
Why not? Because they don't own it.
no because
It's not theirs.
here's what we do. Because here's what you can do. You own your house, right? And I want to rent, right?
Mhm.
Now, it takes some planning. It takes responsibility. It takes an educated populace.
Yep.
But we get together. We draw up a contract. We
Mhm.
say, hey, I'm agreeing to this house within this length of term, within this time frame. I get the right to stay in your house, and I get to claim quasi ownership over it, as in like I get some things, and I get to exclude you. So if you want to
Right.
come into your home at three in the morning, you can't do that. Why? Because you actually agreed to do that. I'm getting your consent. So the reason you can't do that is because you essentially banned yourself. This is still your authority. And now we're agreeing to those terms.
Okay. So in principle, how is that different from a group coming together and this cooperative being referred to as a municipal government or a county government or a state government?
Because I didn't agree to it.
In which, well,
look at the Constitution, right? Like you see the we
no,
the
no, no.
people.
The Constitution
I
doesn't
didn't
have
do that
anything to
mess.
do
I
with
wasn't
your
si-
city
I wasn't
or
born.
county
This
necessarily.
the county that I live in, I didn't agree to that. Like,
Sure you did.
I was
Did-
just
wait,
born into
Who
it.
forced you to live in the home where you currently reside?
Well, nobody forced me to live into my home,
So
but
you
I was
chose it. You
so
made the decision.
no. What happened was I was born into a society where there was
Oh no!
where
Forget about that. I'm talking about right now, where you are right
Mhm.
now. Let's not let's deal with reality as it is currently.
Mhm.
You chose to live where you live.
I sure did.
Agreed?
No,
Okay. Nope.
actually, no. He
No.
did not choose to live in the United States. He was born in the United States.
Uh, correct me if I'm wrong.
But
Have you ever gone overseas?
yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
well,
So I was pretty sure
I,
both of you had.
I guess
fun,
I think he was
fun
talking about
fact,
this
Both
you
of
can't.
specific
you
house.
voluntarily left the border, went beyond the borders of this country, and
I went to another more
willingly came back.
authoritarian one. Yeah, to a more
No,
authoritarian
but
one.
Okay, so
I'll
you
go a
chose
step
to come
further.
back. So both of you have
But I'll go a
chosen to
step
live in
further,
this
Wes.
country, and
The,
further have chosen to live in your current situation, unless you have been coerced.
so I'll go a step further just to be that guy. No, no, I did not. I was forced to because it is not possible for me to denationalize myself and become a national citizen of somewhere else without authority from my current government.
We're not talking about citizenship. We're just talking about living situation. If you
My
live in another,
my living
if you live in another
situation is
state,
contingent upon my citizenship with the United States.
that
Because I was born in the United States, I was
sure,
given citizenship whether I wanted it or not.
okay.
And
So
therefore my living situation and my ability to live in a different nation is impacted by something that I could not control.
okay, but
For instance,
one
like
thing that's in your
you
control is
couldn't
where you
become another
currently
citizen
reside.
somewhere.
You
Well,
can change that. You have the
some
ability to change that. No.
sometimes yeah, if
Just
you have the funds,
in principle,
sure.
sure.
Can
Yeah,
can I
if
jump
it's
ahead
that
here?
important to you,
No,
you can
I mean
allocate your
no, if you have the
resources.
funds.
It's not just the funds.
Yeah, it is the funds. It literally becomes a
Can,
funds thing.
I want to
I mean,
jump ahead here because I think I know where you were going. So
do you?
let's say for yeah, I think so. Let's say
Okay.
like I know. Okay, well, let's say like yes, I agreed to move into this home.
hmm
Okay, tell me where you were going.
I think there's a lot of different ways. I didn't really have a
Okay,
planned
well,
pathway,
I
but
guess you
you
were
agreed to
saying
live
by
in your current residence, right?
right.
If you if you did not agree with the strictures that are placed on you in living where you are, you have the right, if not the ability, to get up and move. Like you can get in your car and drive to another city, another county, another state, potentially another country. You
Well,
can't
I mean,
drive there, but
yeah, but I mean, like, I would still I would still face authoritarianism, like every single. I mean, just I don't
perhaps.
know. Can't think of a single place on Earth, like, other than like maybe Antarctica, where like, there's not a government that is going to force itself on me.
Okay, so there you go. But
So
but the fact that there are other less desirable places doesn't take away your ability to choose where you currently reside.
I'm sorry. Give me.
Right? No, that's fine.
Hey, all right, go downstairs, eat your dinner. Go. Close the door. MJ,
Can I play on my tablet and watch a piano show
where's
at
mom?
the same
Where's
time?
mom?
Mom's in
Okay, sure. Close the door.
bed.
Okay, my bad. My kid is doing. All right,
All
she,
good.
she distracted me.
That's why you just lock the door,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
she doesn't have a right to come into your studio. You have not delegated
Right.
that authority to her. Sorry. But so when it comes to something like that, I would just say, in keeping with libertarian principles, right? You get to make your choices, and you are subject to the consequences thereof. So we have all made choices.
Yeah,
And-
but
and
that's not consenting to authoritarianism.
it's,
Like,
it's
so
not
just be like, just
authoritarianism,
well, it
necessarily.
I could. I'm not consenting to having my stuff taken. Like for instance, like moving to Virginia doesn't mean that I'm consenting to Virginia taking my stuff.
I mean, be that as it may, but I would say to a degree, yes, it does. Because if you didn't want Virginia taking your stuff, you could have stayed in California and let them take your stuff, or Michigan and let them take your stuff, or
No, 'cause-
Alabama and let them wherever it was that you moved there from.
no. So telling me in advance that you're gonna do something bad to me if I do X doesn't mean I'm consenting to it. Like if I say
I mean, putting it
If
in
you-
those terms, though, man.
But-
I mean,
but that's
there's
what
a
it-
cost associated.
if I let's say we were co-workers and I told you, if you show up to work tomorrow and I punch you in the face, if you show up to work tomorrow, I'm going to punch you in the face. Are you consenting to being punched by coming to work?
No, I'm going to work remotely and lock my door.
No, it's okay. If you come in the building,
Yeah.
are you consenting to being punched?
Yeah,
Right.
No,
I just
no, I'm
told
not.
you in advance. Right. That doesn't mean you're consenting to it. Like, no. Hey, I have a right to come to work. I don't want to be punched. That's you're
Right,
not
and-
consenting to that. So
well,
this like when I
and-
moved to Virginia, like I'm not consenting.
So what you're getting into, I would say, is not uniquely a libertarian issue, right? So I think to kind of bring it back to the topic at hand,
Mhm.
objection to taxation is not uniquely libertarian, for example, or objection to certain taxes. I would say, from my perspective and what I think the Constitution would say, I mean, it gives the federal Congress the explicit authority to levy taxes.
That's
So
where it messes up.
Well, but if
That
you want to be anti-American, right?
Well,
I wouldn't recommend it.
So because
If you want to upend the whole system,
well,
but all that to say is, we can have legitimate criticisms for the amount of taxes, the way that they're taken, right? There's a difference between a sales tax in which I know if I'm going to buy this good,
Mhm.
I'm voluntarily paying a tax, in a way that income tax is taken before I get my check, right? So we can have a conversation around the method of taxation, the amount of taxation, what that looks like. But-
We're discussing like the method of taking your shirt, the method of how I take your shirt. Because like at the end of the day, it's still yours. Like if you agree to property rights, then any form of it would be a violation of your rights. And also, if nobody has a right to take your stuff, where does government get its authority to do it? is getting extra rights.
Well, if we're not talking about rights, if we're talking about authority,
Authority. I'm
then
sorry. It is
I
getting
know, but
extra authority. It's getting
what?
authority that the people don't have. And if we're going
Well,
to give it authority that people don't have, then let's let government do all of it. I mean,
well, that's one of the reasons we find ourselves in this situation is you have. I mean, take it back down to a smaller level, right? A municipality,
hmm
a group of people come together and say we're going to pool our resources to a degree, and even to the. I disagree with property taxes, right? But just say that outright. I think it's rent for property you own. I think that's ridiculous. However, if I'm going to live in an area that has property tax, that's the cost of living in that area. I have a choice not to live it. I live in an area with property taxes, so that's just part of the deal now. And the area says, that's part of it, and we give up certain rights to associate in this area, right? So we cede that authority, and when you cede that authority to any government structure, any group structure, really, you're giving up your rights.
Yeah,
I think
and
we can agree on that in
yeah,
principle.
that's going to be on per individual. Like
Right.
people can't
And so
collectively do that. Like so, like
you
the
say we
founding.
can't, but
Well,
I would push back
how
and
could
say
they?
that when you have enough of the population willing to cede their rights, they've granted that authority over them.
All they can yes, they can see their rights and grant the government authority over them. They can't see their rights and grant the government authority over me. Remember, you remember, like nobody else gets to make decisions about my stuff, right? Just like when we break it down to like my body, right? Who has access to my body?
Hmm.
The public can't decide to give the government access to my body.
Well, that's not entirely true because I mean both of y'all have argued in favor of abortion, and that is effectively government endorsing the practice of
No, that's government
killing an
has
unborn life,
government has
right?
absolutely nothing to do with that. So
Oh,
and
that's not true. That is not true
no.
because
The way that it's
if the
practiced
government,
now,
if right now, if the government across the board, if there was a federal amendment to the Constitution recognizing the right to life from fertilization, you would have zero doctors performing abortions. You
what
would
I'm
have
saying, my
zero
position,
companies.
on abortion has absolutely nothing to do with the government. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, well, I was saying the practice of abortion has everything to do with government
So
action and government
I
authority.
thought the
It's
conversation
just,
might go here. So
oh,
for
I'm sure it would.
so abortion with an abortion, the fetus has the same rights as everyone else. The fetus has a right to its own
It's not
body.
treated that way.
It is
That's why you
treated
have
that way.
abolitionists who are
So the
looking
fetus.
to have the practice of abortion abolished.
So, but no. So what we're doing is we're giving the fetus access to someone else's body.
No, we're not doing anything. That's already been done,
So the right. So
right?
when we talk, the fetus is not the woman. Like the fetus and the pregnant person are separate, right?
You can say woman. It's okay. We understand reality.
Okay. Okay. If you
No,
want to
no
go,
men are pregnant.
okay. Well,
Period.
okay. Well, depending on how you want to define man, and the way I've seen from conservatives, the way they define man, men can absolutely get pregnant. Somebody with XY chromosomes can absolutely get pregnant, and there's been cases of that. But okay, but what I was going to say was like the pregnant person and a fetus is not the same. The
Correct.
pregnant person has total authoritarian control over the body. The fetus has complete total authoritarian control over their body. With
And
a,
so what you have
with
is
people who are abolitionists to abortion, what they're doing is they're granting the fetus extra rights. They're giving the
no,
fetus
that
rights
is
over the
incorrect. Fundamentally false.
how is it okay? What does the fetus has a right to then?
Life, the right to live. At that
So
stage in human development, the unborn child requires
okay,
its
so let's
mother.
say I'm dying and I need food.
You are dying.
Yeah, I'm dying. I need food.
Okay.
You're the only person that has. You're on an island. You're the only person that have it. I have a right to live. Can I come and take your stuff?
No, because that's theft.
Right, because I can't take your property, right? And
Right, but the baby's
pro-
not stealing
the,
anything
the
from the
woman,
mother.
but can I use your stuff? Well, let's say I'm freezing to death. I need a coat. Can I come and take your coat? I'm gonna give
No,
it back when it warms
that's
up.
theft.
Right. That's what. Okay. So I can't use
It's
your
not the
stuff
same.
without you. How
It's
is it
fundamentally not the
It is
same because we're
functionally
talking about
equivalent.
human development, and there's no
Well,
way for a
What,
human to develop
what we're
outside the
talking,
womb.
but no, but it doesn't matter. What we're talking about is needing something. You're saying that a need confers a right.
And
This is what
that's
I
the
pointed out in the paper.
oversimplification of the libertarian view.
It's not
Of
oversimplification. Remember, this is what I pointed out
looking at a
actually
body
in
as
the
property is what you
paper.
dehumanize human life.
I talked
You
about
dehumanize people.
I talked about an example of this. I gave you give this in the Bible, where it's a person who's stealing, right? Now he doesn't have the net worth to pay back. He's sold into slavery. The principle here is that needing something doesn't grant you a right to it, right? Even when we talked about gleaning, right? So for people who don't know what gleaning was, back in Old Testament times, gleaning was a practice when the people go out and pick the food from their harvest.
Yep.
If you drop something, you got to leave it on the ground for the poor. Right? Now the command from God was the command was always on God to give. Right?
Correct.
So the halves are the give. So you have extra food, you give. Never on the have-nots to take.
Correct.
So now let's bring this back to abortion.
Okay.
The baby needs the woman's body to live. I am granting that. What that does not do is confer a right to it.
Nobody is saying that the baby has a right to the mother's body, but rather the position would state that no one, the mother included, has the right to kill another human being. Period.
So,
right. So, but by that same logic, right? The 3-month-old in utero fetus. If you're going to say that the mother can kill that kid,
to me
hang on a second, Facade. Then when you have a 3-month-old child after birth, the mother, you can extend the same thing. Say, well, the baby requires all of this. I don't want to give it, so I'm going to kill this child. Like you extend the same logic.
No, you can't.
You see the difference between somebody who's outside the womb and somebody who's in. It's the same thing with you being cold and needing a coat, and being hungry and
needing
food.
It sounds like you have a problem with the process of abortion.
No, I have a problem with the unjust taking of human life. Period.
Okay, but like that is only because the current process of abortion involves the eradication of that life. Abortion, by definition, is the termination of a pregnancy, right? If that did not mean killing like another, the fetus in the process, would you be opposed to it?
If things were different, then I might think differently, sure. But
so let's do a hypothetical to make it really easy to understand what I'm saying.
Why go hypothetical? Why not just treat it with
because
what we've got now?
To make a point, to help you understand a point, I think, and to help us understand each other's points, we need to go to somewhere that currently doesn't exist.
Okay.
Okay. Let's pretend there's technology that exists that will transport a fetus outside of a woman's body.
Okay.
Okay. Now, whether that goes to some hyper intelligent science lab somewhere to then incubate till 9 months and then have some sort of false birth, or whether some alien life takes care of it, whether some volunteer host, whatever, that's not relevant, right?
Right.
Let's just say that we can safely take a woman who's pregnant.
Yep.
And we can extract the fetus from that woman because she doesn't want it in her body anymore. And that does not kill the fetus. Are you opposed to this concept?
I'm not opposed to it in this particular situation, but I mean, there
okay. So
questions
sounds to me like then you have a problem with the process of abortion. because
Okay.
currently the only safe way to do it is
If by
currently
safe you mean killing a kid, then sure. But I
well, I
wouldn't
mean,
I
yeah,
wouldn't refer to
safe
any
for the mother.
process as safe
Yeah,
that
yeah,
takes a
it's
human life.
absolutely safe for the mother. Yeah, yeah, it's much more safe for the mother to
Oh,
kill
sure.
to abort the fetus and to destroy the fetus and to take it out bit by bit
Mm,
than it is to try to extract it wholly.
I,
In
I I
all
think you might
cases,
I think you might think differently if you had conversations with women who have suffered the trauma of an abortion after the fact,
I mean,
because
I mean,
there are long-term
I hate
impacts
to be that guy, but
physically,
there are
mentally,
way more
emotionally.
people who were like very, very much more pleased with the outcome of their abortion than people who regretted having one. By
I mean,
scores, by scores. Do you have no idea? If you don't know the
forgive me
numbers,
if I
like
don't take your word for it, Facade.
okay, but I mean, you just look at the total number of abortions, and then the people that have had multiple abortions, and then you'd see,
Hmm.
like, I mean, it's literally like, I mean, it's crazy. But
Right,
like,
and look at
the
what people
the
post on social media, and then talk to them in person and see how
yeah,
different
yeah
that is.
I
Right,
mean,
so
don't
there's a
get me
difference
wrong.
between what people
Don't get me
say
wrong. The
and what
heartfelt
they actually
stories are always
experience.
the heartfelt stories are always the ones that get traction and the media attention. You don't hear of like, hey, I had a safe drive to work today. You say, hey, I almost crashed my car. Things went terrible, and like, oh, thank goodness I'm fine, right? Like, you don't hear about the ones that are, I had a normal drive on the way to work.
Hmm.
Because of course not, right? Like that's just not the way. That's not how social media sensation works.
No, no,
But my
I don't mean social media sensation. I'm talking about the difference between what somebody might say publicly and how they might actually be feeling, or what they might actually be experiencing.
Yeah, yeah, and for people that have abortion early term, especially, they end up saying, "I'm really glad I didn't have to carry a baby to term. I'm really glad that that was a mostly painless process. I'm really glad that this didn't alter my life for XYZ. I'm really glad that because of my mental, physical, emotional, financial, etc. situation, I didn't also have to support a child."
So you think it's better overall for people to put
Have
themselves in
control
a
of their own
position?
have
That's not what I'm
control of
saying.
their own body.
You gonna let me finish?
Go ahead,
Okay,
be
so
my
you think
guest.
it's better for people to kill their children to put them in a better material situation where they're not
that that
also
that
having to take care of a child.
that's
You think it's better
nowhere
for?
did I say those words.
Okay, I'm just.
I think
Here's the really short argument for this, and the reason I asked if you would have a problem if we had this advanced technology that could take a body, because
Mhm.
by definition, if we had this advanced technology that can remove a fetus from a woman, that is by definition abortion, because
Uh,
that is the termination of her pregnancy.
oh,
So
well,
if you're not
I'm
opposed
looking
to
at the way
that,
it is
then
now.
you're opposed to you're opposed to the current process.
Okay,
But
and
what
just
AAA was
know,
just saying,
if you're going to
let me finish
advocate
here.
for that, okay,
Let me
go ahead.
finish here. What
Go
AAA
ahead.
was just saying, and the point that has to be made about the reason you're opposed to the process is that you are by definition giving extra rights to this
No,
child. Yes, because what
no.
happens
What
is
right is being given to the
you're
child that's
saying
not?
this child has a right to a woman's body.
No, I've
Yes.
never said those words. I
That is
said the child
but when
has a
you're
right
saying,
to
but that's what
live.
you're.
yeah, but
be-
by the only way that child lives is by accessing that woman's body.
Okay, well,
Can I
congratulations. You've just separated yourself from the Libertarian Party,
can I
because the
point out?
very first right that they talk about is the right to life. So if you're going to strip that in favor of somebody else's right to property,
Libertarians are also very pro self defense. If my
well, we're
right
not
to
talking about
life
Also,
defense.
the Libertarian
is being,
Party.
We're
I
talking
mean, in
about
some
being
cases,
anti-human. We're
in
talking
some
about being
cases,
anti-child.
in
We're
some
talking about
cases,
being
you definitely
selfish.
are. But
And
more
that is
importantly,
one of the more
Wes, you
practical
got to let me finish the
outworkings.
thought here, buddy. You
Oh,
keep
I
going down
have.
this tangent. No, you keep going down this tangent of saying things that aren't necessarily even the point here, right?
So like a hypothetical world that doesn't exist where we could
No.
transport fetuses
In
outside
this
the womb.
world, let me ask you this, and this
Okay.
is going to be a grotesque question. Do I have a right to hold on to your penis?
No.
No. Does anyone have a right to hold on to your penis?
Yes.
Who has a right besides you to hold on to your penis?
My wife.
She has a right.
Yes.
Okay, so let's say you're not in the mood for sex. You're not in the mood to do anything at all. You're sleeping in your bed at night. Your wife comes in while you're asleep, unbeknownst to you, and she holds your penis. She has that right.
Correct.
That's rape.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No.
That is unconsenting,
I mean,
like sex with you, like using your body for sex with you without your consent. That is the
See-
definition of rape.
for everybody watching, this is your brain on libertarianism. I'm sorry, Facade, but you have just gone completely off the rails with this.
Do you think that you can have sex with your wife without her consent?
No.
Then why does she have the right to use your penis without your consent?
We're not talking about without consent.
I just asked if she could do
Right.
it while you were asleep
Because
and without
if
your
she-
consent.
she
Neither
has
of
a
those
right.
things.
You're reading into it, Facade.
No,
But no,
I'm not.
But
This is your brain on
guys,
not
Can you dial it
listening.
back a little bit,
Yes,
Facade? There's no need to yell, right?
Well,
Just
so-
because I'm asleep doesn't mean I haven't given my wife consent.
So
I asked
so,
if you gave consent.
Hey,
you said no.
No,
hey guys,
we're married. I
I
haven't
wanna-
said explicitly.
what I want to
Yes, you can do this.
Can-
But see, that's why your illustrations miss the mark because they don't address the point.
The,
What were you
the
gonna say,
po-
Triple
the- go ahead.
what
Yeah.
Okay, what I wanted to say was if you said she had a right to do that, that means she doesn't need your consent because it's your right. Like it's just like I don't need my consent to flick off kids because it's my right.
Fair enough.
That's where Facade was going.
Yeah, but I mean that's the
no.
dynamics of marriage.
I think what we're
just
talking
it.
about. So when he had said how you were giving, just reaffirming my point about giving the baby extra rights. I can show you where you were doing this, and this was in the analogy that you had last given when you're talking about how like you said there was essentially no distinction between an abortion versus the baby's born and I don't want to take care of it and so you kill it. So here's the distinction, right? So if you die because I don't give you access to my stuff,
Mhm.
that's very different from you dying because I take your stuff.
Right.
Right, so if you
actively kill the child will continue to live. That's fundamentally that's how it
but
works.
the child will continue to live as long as it has access to my body.
Right, but
Right,
that
but it
goes
does-
back
but it
to
doesn't-
the
but here's the
disagreement
thing.
that body is property. And,
But it doesn't
and you
have-
own your body.
What?
That
You would-
child has a right to mom and dad.
So would
It
you
can be violated, but that doesn't
Whether
that
it's-
doesn't take away from the fact that the child has a right to two parents.
whether you want to call it property, you at least agree I have a right to my body, right?
Mhm.
So
I don't really know what that means if
Well,
you
that-
phrase
that-
it that way.
that
but
means
in the basic
so
understanding, I'd say
what?
yeah.
So that means if I have a right to it, nobody else has a right to it. That means that I don't need permission from anyone else to use it. If anybody
It
else
depends on what
wanted-
you're using it for, but yeah.
well, I couldn't use it to violate somebody. I couldn't use my body to rob a bank or to choke you, right? Because that's right. So like
Right.
my rights end when I violate.
Yeah, there
your
are a
right.
lot of laws against what people can do with their bodies.
Right. So
Right?
now,
So when it violates the right of somebody else, in
Mhm.
this case, the right to life.
life. Now, this is where I was gonna draw a distinction at, because this is gonna sound harsh. You do not have a right to life. You have a right to not be killed. If you say you have a right to life, what you are implying is that if your life depends on it, you have a right to someone else's stuff. It just doesn't work like that. You don't have a right to something just because you need it, even if you need it to live. That doesn't grant a right to it. And we see that
with that statement-
principle
oh,
in
right.
the Bible. We see in the Bible, needing does not grant a right to it.
Well, with that position, AAA, you've distinguished yourself from, you've distinguished yourself from the Libertarian Party.
Oh yes, that's fine. So like the Libertarian Party, libertarians are just like reformers. They are known for fighting among each other. We have
No.
over
I mean
commitment
what
to
they
ideology.
specifically say.
Yeah,
If you have
I know the Libertarian Party is not the arbiter over libertarianism. There's a lot of libertarians that hate the Libertarian Party. So like I'm
so
telling you,
where
like,
does this definition of libertarianism come from, if not
well, so
the party,
libertarian.
the group that is identified as quote unquote libertarian?
Well, here's the thing. So libertarian really just comes back down to the non-aggression principle, which makes
According
the
to who?
well, I mean, like according to libertarians. I mean, like I don't know of any libertarians that would disagree with the non-aggression principle. The problem the problem
But I can point you
arises
to the statement of principles and the party platform
right.
that
So
disagree with what you're saying, and you've already cast
they,
that aside.
you said the
So when you
libertarian
say
party.
libertarians, what do you mean? Like the libertarians that you know locally?
No, I'm
A
talking
group of
like
friends
some
that you hang out
like
with?
like no, I'm talking like the thought the thought gods of libertarianism. Like what's his name? Lex von Mises, right? The guy who wrote the what's it called? The Constitution of Liberty. Let me find the book. F.A. Hayek, right?
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
But you see what
Guy
I
who-
mean
guy who
when it
wrote
comes
this
to
book,
defining
right?
terms.
So
Like we've got to understand what we're talking about. So it
right, but
really sounds like for this amount of time, you and I have been talking about a completely different understanding, or not completely, but a different understanding of what libertarianism is.
well, no,
And
because
so that's going to need to be something that is addressed
you were talking about
before
the
you,
Libertarian Party. And so there's a
right?
lot of people who
Because
disagree with the Libertarian Party because the Libertarian Party doesn't always adhere to the non-aggression principle.
okay, so let me ask you this then, because this gets more to the topic then. If one disagrees with the Libertarian Party, in what way are they libertarian?
So okay, so it'd be like if someone disagrees with the Democratic Party, in what ways do they follow democracy?
No. And that would be the parallel would be, if I disagree with the Democrat Party, in what way am I to be considered a Democrat?
Right, but the
And in this
okay,
case,
what I'm
I'm
saying is the
not.
Libertarian Party aren't arbiters over libertarianism anymore than Democrats over democracy.
Well, I would
Could you give me
I would
one second?
strongly put. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
had like a really short family emergency, really quick.
Do your thing, buddy. I'll chat with the chat.
He had to
Oh,
urinate.
yeah, no, that's fine.
That's
That
totally
family
what it
emergency.
was.
Had
Yeah, that's
to
what it
drop
was.
the kids off the pool
Bathroom.
real quick.
Yeah, that's all it was. Don't blame your weak bladder on your family.
I know, man. Be a man.
Just admit you had to poop.
Did he take his book with him? I don't know how long he's going to be gone.
Yeah, I know. That was a great question. He could have been on the reader.
All right, I'm sorry. There was dead air, but some.
Oh, there was not dead air. Facade and I we're talking.
Okay.
About
Oh, okay. Oh, good. Okay. All right. So what I'm saying is, so like if like the lib, it'd be like saying you want to know what Reformed theology is. Well, go look at the Presbyterians, and if you disagree with them, you aren't Reformed, right? Or
Well,
you're not Reformed Baptist. You're not Reformed if you're not Reformed Baptist. So
not necessarily.
so libertarians fight
Right, because
amongst
Reformed theology has a broad understanding. It did branch out,
Mhm.
but I mean, for example, Reformed theology has a basic understanding of the five solas of the Reformation, regardless of whether you're Dutch Reformed, Presbyterian, Baptist, whatever. It's going to be Calvinistic. It's going to be confessional. That confession may vary.
Well,
From
Lutherans who consider themselves Reformed might disagree with you.
well, I've yet to meet a Lutheran who would disagree with that, but also consider themselves Reformed. I know a lot of Lutherans that don't consider themselves Reformed, but because of that. But
Well,
I mean,
you said Calvinistic. Like I don't know the Christian rapper Flame. That guy's a Lutheran.
right?
Rejects,
My
he
point is,
reject the 5-point Calvinists. I discussed it with them.
yeah,
one
no,
time.
I'm familiar with. I mean,
Okay.
I think all of the Lutherans that I know
Mhm.
would disagree with the idea that they are Reformed.
He thinks he's Reformed.
Okay, well, I mean,
But
but
what I was going to
be
say
that as
was
it may,
So
back to the party identification. If you're like libertarian
mhm.
is understood to be a political party, just like Democrat is understood to be a political party.
No,
Republican is understood to be a
no,
political party.
Tom, no.
Okay,
So
well, okay,
libertarianism is a political philosophy. In the
okay.
70s, libertarian is a political philosophy that's about what I mean, hundreds of years old, right? That was mostly, but what it really
You could say
developed throughout the
there.
19th century, right?
You
But
could say there are tenets of it that are
yeah,
that
but
old.
we pulled from John Locke and all that kind of stuff. But like, I mean, from the most part, it was late 19th and early 20th century where the tenets of libertarianism was being pulled together. And then in the 70s, there was a party that named themselves after that. This
Mhm.
dude, F.A. Hayek, he is a hardcore libertarian. Like he is laying out the groundwork of libertarianism, like in his book. He's not part of the
How do
libertarian
you
party.
know? Does he identify himself as a libertarian?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, libertarian little L. So
Little
not
L.
part of not part of the Libertarian Party. That's why
Right.
like if you if I was talking to people like overseas, like over in Europe, like in a Finnish might call himself a Democrat. He's not talking about the Democratic Party. He's saying
Well,
he is
sure.
for democracy.
But right, and
Right.
terms
That's
have contextual
mhm.
understanding, right? So I mean, it's not
So
just a
I'm not
denotation. There's connotations to it.
right.
So
So now
and so this. Go ahead. Sorry.
so I'm not trying to so I'm not defending the Libertarian Party by any means. Like Thomas Massey, Ron Paul, you know who that is, right?
Yeah, I'm familiar
Yeah,
with that. Ron
yeah.
Paul actually considered himself a constitutionalist.
So those aren't distinct. You can so Ron Paul, hardcore libertarian. Also, he loves the Constitution.
he said himself, party wise, he would be a constitutionalist.
He
And
also
he worked with the libertarians. I know he ran as a libertarian in the 80s. That was nearly 40 years ago.
he also said a speech that we want to get government to get down as little as possible and eventually to zilch. I heard him say that with my own ears.
Sure.
That is
And
libertarianism.
I'm not disagreeing. Okay, but
Okay. So
there's a difference between having a libertarian idea or an agreement with libertarian
mhm.
principles and being or considering oneself to be libertarian.
I can tell you I can tell you this. Most libertarians that you'd run into, because I
Mhm.
was in the libertarian community for a long time, would tell you that when they say they're libertarian, they're not saying that they're part of that party. There's a political philosophy that they've adopted
Oh, sure. I mean,
based
there's
on
a
the non-aggression principle, and the Libertarian Party doesn't always adhere to it. Just like Gary Johnson, who was the former
yeah.
governor of New Mexico, the
Gary,
dude was
what is Aleppo Johnson?
right. So he wasn't the best libertarian, right? And but
Right.
little L, but big L, sure, he fit the description because he was in the part of the party, right? And then libertarians, they started adopting other people like anarcho-communists and stuff like that, like that.
Hmm.
But that doesn't make them libertarian. So
Sure.
I am talking about the principles of libertarianism, which is deeply founded in property rights. The non-aggression principle comes from that. So when you say I deviated from the Libertarian Party, I mean
Okay.
it means nothing to me.
Fair enough. But I mean, it's going to be a hard sell to bring about any sort of meaningful change without common understandings.
So
And
I guess
if
the last few
if
minutes we'll focus on that. So we talk about, you said the
okay.
common understandings. Go ahead. I'm sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. It's just
So,
for libertarian ideas, right? There is
mhm.
an inherently political, meaning public expression of that, right? There's moral or there are certain prescriptions to that, political prescriptions that
Yeah,
would come from that,
and
and to enact those, to manifest them, there would have to be sufficient support. And if you don't have something that brings these disparate individuals together called the Libertarian Party, for example, I'd say that, and you can use this as a transition, I guess. What is it that you would see as that unifying principal idea, if not the Libertarian Party?
The non-aggression principle. And so you
Okay.
take libertarianism to its logical conclusion, you're going to run into voluntarism, which is that like all human interaction is going to be voluntary, and that's going to dissolve government essentially. So if you be a super libertarian, you fall to its logical conclusion.
Oh yeah, chaos and anarchy.
Well, it's not chaos, and
Sure it is.
and no, it's not. It's very orderly. Like it's just no rulers, right? There's no one. It means authority is tied to property, but that's not chaos. Like you go into a grocery store is anarchistic, right? There's no authoritarian telling people that
It's
hey,
not an
this is what you
authoritarian, but
got to
there's
do
an
with your
imposed
stuff.
structure.
Yes, and structure wouldn't go away if we went on property. If everything went private, your house is
I got you.
private.
We're talking about two different stages. Initially, or at least principally, ideally, sure, there's not chaos, but practically, there certainly would be, because, among other things, I think libertarianism gets human nature wrong.
So, but
So
it gets it right.
Downstream.
It gets it right, and it agrees with you about human nature. And that's maybe
to the degree it agrees with me, it's right, but it doesn't fully agree, and that's its problem.
So the assumption is that human nature can't be trusted. It's depraved.
How do you figure?
Well, humans are violent.
No. I'm not
humans
talking about
make
that.
bad decisions.
The underlying distrust in humanity. Where do you get that from? In libertarian thought.
That's why we limit their authority. That's why we don't trust government, because a person is going to be in charge. It's going to be a person, and that person can't be trusted. That's why like you don't trust me, so you limit the amount of things I have control over. I don't want to run your life. You could make better decisions for your life than I could.
Interestingly enough, historically, there's been two ways to do that. One is to consolidate power into one person, like a king or an emperor or dictator that does have that authority and exercises it, or to disperse that authority. And you have, if I understand your position, that at least this last hour and a half or so, have been arguing against the mechanism of these levels of government that have developed as a way to disperse that authority to prevent it from being consolidated.
So yes,
am I incorrect in that assessment?
No, and so in principle, it shouldn't exist, because they don't have the right to control other people's lives. But as a matter of pragmatism, it also shouldn't exist, because the pool of people who you don't trust to make the decisions with their own livelihood, those are the people that you're going to have in charge of everybody else. So if you don't trust me to make decisions for myself, why would you trust me to make decisions for everyone else?
Well, I don't know where you're getting this idea that you're making decisions for everyone else.
That's what government does. That's what government does. Like it tells me like how much money I can make by increasing taxes on that. It tells me what I can do with my property. It tells me if I travel, how I'm able to do it. Like instead of that is how it's making decisions for me. It dictates who I can trade with. Like I have a bunch of guns in my house. I couldn't sell my Glock to an Iranian or North Korean. Right? That would violate ITAR. Right? So it limits things that I'm able to do. We're
gonna step in here real quick. I gotta jump, guys. Apologies for getting heated earlier, but Wes, it's always good to have you on. But I have
always
to
good
drop
to talk
out
to you,
here.
sir.
Have a good afternoon, gents.
All right, I see you. See you, girl.
See you guys.
We'll be in a few minutes anyway. But like, yeah. So, but that's what I don't know if you saw my comment earlier. I had said Reformed theology and libertarianism is cut from the same cloth. It is the principle that humanity like just cannot be trusted. It is depraved. It is
I mean,
is pulling from the same philosophy.
kind of, but I think it's a bit of a stretch to say that Reformed theology and libertarianism are cut from the same cloth. There may be some overlap, at least in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's enough to say that they're cut from the same cloth, though. Like there are substantial differences
There are,
between. So I think it's to say libertarianism and Reformed theology are cut from the same cloth is the same reasoning that says all religions are the same
no.
fundamentally. They
So,
just
yeah,
have different expressions.
I wouldn't say that. But also, if you look at the way like even like reformed organizations operate, they operate very different from like your Roman organizations, right?
Sure.
There's a lot. You have like
Well, except for the
elders.
Presbyterians.
Yeah, yeah. I'm saying right. You have like elders doing things like
Yeah.
there's accountability.
Right.
The checks and balances that you see within government. If you read the Federalist Papers, like Federalist number 10,
Oh yeah.
James Madison's talking about factions and how the problems with humanity. And he says like you have to counter ambition with ambition. That's why you have the separation of powers. They don't want the president to be able to control the military
Put a bunch
and
of
also
tariffs on the
and
entire
also be
world.
right. They want that. The Bible. I have to find the exact passage. I don't think I referenced it in my paper, but it was this law. Kings weren't able to invest a lot of money in horses. They said a king can't gather horses among himself. Now, the Bible doesn't explain why, but you can think about this. What were horses used back in that time?
Armies.
Yeah, war, right? So
Yeah.
if the king has a lot of money invested in war, then he can make a profit off of war. So God is like, let me nip that in the bud, right? That is something the American government could learn from. Maybe we shouldn't have presidents being allowed to invest in companies like Raytheon or the like defense contracts. That's probably a bad idea. Right.
Listen, we could have filled this whole show up with areas that we agree on why the federal government now is awful.
Right, yeah. But
and has been for pretty much our lifetimes.
Sure. But like but yeah, but that's what I'm when I said that it's cut from the same cloth. That's kind of like what I was trying to say there.
I get you.
Okay.
And I appreciate your thoughts. And one of the things that that keeps me coming back is you always have these interesting and unique perspectives on something that's generally understood in one way, and you're like, no, let's try this. And I appreciate that, even if I don't always agree. But I still land on libertarianism as practiced. The way you're describing it is a failure, right? And I think we can agree on that, because libertarianism, according to the principles that you've laid out, aren't really heralded in any substantive way.
Oh yeah, yeah, I agree.
There's some, but I mean, we didn't talk nearly as much about economic policy as I thought we would, but certainly when it comes to taxation and fiscal policy, the Federal Reserve, all of that, I think that in a lot of ways it's a failure. But I also think that the political party has also been largely a failure because of their inability to really harness themselves.
They are the Libertarian Party is over concerned with ideological purity, and so you have a guy who could possibly do well, but people won't support him because he's not strict libertarianism. Like Gary Johnson was one of those guys, and he supported things like he talked about. He was for gun registration, right? That he wasn't anti-gun. I think he just wanted to register guns, just like you would register a car, right? That doesn't mean you make you anti-car. That's just so we can just keep track of who owns what, you know?
Yeah, but who's going to pay for the administration of the database, if not the government?
Right. So what? So you're thinking more of like a more fundamentalist libertarian, but that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. That there was this bunch of infighting. The party never really goes anywhere.
Yeah.
The good part is that libertarians have had some effect on American polity, not through their party, but through like other policies. Like for instance, like the decriminalization of marijuana, criminal justice reform. It was libertarians that were spearheading that. You know. So I mean, they've affected other parties in ways that have become a little more libertarian. Although the
And we are all the
party,
worse for it.
yeah, yeah. But
Oh
anyway,
man.
I want to give you a last word. It's now 8:30. My little girl's probably going to bust in here again any second. But I'm going to go ahead and give you a last word.
Oh, I don't really have anything else to say. I think we've said a lot, but thanks again for having me on. This has been a blast. Always a pleasure. I will say to the chat, I wish we'd gotten more. I wanted to know what was going to be said about the wetlands. Music by Brian, 2024, but uh, I don't know. But it's always a pleasure, and it's always fun to talk to you, and Fasad too. And I know we get heated going back and forth, but he's a good guy.
Most definitely, man. I was trying to see that. You said somebody said something about the wetlands. Uh
Yeah, music by Brian said, "I'm about to bring up the wetlands again."
oh, I don't know. I okay. I didn't. I wish I had saw that comment. I would have said something. Oh, well. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. He says Wes needs that ugly shirt stolen. That's
Probably so.
so
Yellow isn't my color. I'll agree
yeah,
with that, but it's comfy.
yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Now that's debatable. I'll catch y'all next time. All right.